How's everybody doing? Welcome back to another episode of The Banker Next Door. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Berquist. Today we are continuing the crypto series. This is episode 24 in the crypto series. And this week I've dubbed this episode Crypto World because this is, Crypto Week, I should say, not Crypto World. But I've got a bunch of articles to go through with everyone here. But obviously this week being dubbed Crypto Week by the U.S. House of Representatives, and it basically says what to expect this week. So the House of Representatives has dubbed July 14th through the 18th Crypto Week. And members are expected to vote on the Genius Act, which would enable private companies to issue stablecoins. A successful House vote would send the bill to the desk of President Donald Trump, who has expressed support for the proposal on social media. The House is also expected to consider the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act, which would establish a framework for cryptocurrency regulation. So I want to jump down here. So the Genius Act was passed 68-30 by the Senate last month. So approval from the House would send it to President Donald Trump's desk. In a Truth Social post, Trump said the bill would make America the undisputed leader in digital assets, which, hey, would be great, right? The House may also consider the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act, which would establish a framework for cryptocurrency regulation involving the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. The Clarity Act's backers include crypto exchange operator Coinbase Global, which has run a six-figure ad campaign calling for its passage. The CBDC Anti-Surveillance Security Act, which would prevent the Federal Reserve from issuing a central bank digital currency, is also expected to be discussed. So some very interesting legislation indeed coming out this week. Now, because of the timing of this, I'm putting this episode out here during the week. I will cover this on the BND Strategy Room live on Saturday night, so we can find out kind of the results of the week, as it were. But let's run through a couple of things, like what else is going on in the crypto world as of the moment. Right now, Bitcoin flies to new all-time highs, briefly topping 118,000 as institutions pile into ETFs. So Bitcoin topped 118,000 as institutions continued piling into Bitcoin ETFs. On Thursday, this would be Thursday from last week, Bitcoin ETFs logged their biggest day of inflows of 2025 with 1.18 billion. Ether ETFs recorded their second biggest day of inflows ever at 383 million, according to SoSo Value. For the week, Bitcoin is on track for a nearly 10% gain and its best week since April 25th, while Ether is up more than 21%, heading for its best week since May 9th. So very interesting stuff there. Some fraud news. So two charged in 650 million global crypto scam that promised 300% returns. So federal prosecutors charged two men in connection with a sprawling cryptocurrency investment scheme that allegedly defrauded victims of more than $650 million. Prosecutors alleged OmegaPro operated as a global multi-level marketing scam. The two face charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering, each carrying a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. So no shortage of crypto scams or crypto fraud. That just continues to run right along. This one, a piece of news, was rather interesting. BNY Mellon will have custody of Ripple's new stablecoin as institutional interest in crypto swells. So the partnership should enhance regulatory compliance for Ripple, the issue of Ripple USD, and boost institutional credibility for the company, as well as the fast-growing stablecoin industry. Stablecoins are cryptocurrencies whose values are pegged to that of another asset, usually the dollar. So the Bank of New York Mellon will be the primary custodian for Ripple's U.S. dollar-pegged stablecoin reserves going forward, the two companies said on Wednesday. The partnership should enhance regulatory compliance for Ripple, the issue of Ripple USD, and boost institutional credibility for the company, as well as the fast-growing stablecoin industry. BNY is the nation's oldest bank and primarily serves institutions and corporations. Now, I will add a caveat here for anybody who is not familiar or doesn't know much about BNY Mellon. They are, I would describe them as, one of the most cutting-edge technology banks that are out there in the U.S. They've always been a very forward-thinking, innovative bank in that regard. Always have had, kind of on the cutting edge of technology. Really consider them state of the art. So they're always, kind of pushing the envelope, and they always trying to be, one step ahead of everybody. So they have a very unique bank, very unique culture over there. But I think a lot of the stuff that they do is really cool. So again, doesn't surprise me that they would be, one of the banks jumping out kind of in front of this. But as I digress, so it also adds to the growing number of traditional institutions and companies showing interest in stablecoins, a shift that has quickly become known as stablecoin summer. As the Trump administration rolls back restrictive Biden-era crypto policies and Congress makes progress on passing stablecoin legislation, Amazon and Walmart are reportedly exploring the possibility of using or issuing their own stablecoins. Uber, Apple, and Airbnb are among other big companies reported to be exploring them as well. BNY is committed to delivering differentiated end-to-end solutions designed to meet the needs of institutions across the entire digital asset ecosystem. Emily Portney, global head of asset servicing at BNY, said in a statement, "As primary custodian, we are thrilled to support the growth and adoption of RLUSD by facilitating the seamless movement of reserve assets and cash to support conversions, and are proud to be working closely with Ripple to continue propelling the future of the financial system." So again, very interesting news coming out of BNY Mellon. Here's another piece of news here. So MicroStrategy buys another 530 million worth of Bitcoin. So basically, Bitcoin treasury company. I think that's an interesting way of describing them. MicroStrategy has acquired another 4,980 Bitcoin, taking its total holdings to 597,325 Bitcoin. The recent purchases were funded through the use of at-the-market mechanisms Strategy has become infamous for using. Strategy's executive chairman, Michael Saylor, also recently made the case that the Bitcoin price could rise to 21 million over the next 21 years. Bitcoin treasury companies are on the rise more generally, as there are now 140 publicly traded companies with Bitcoin on their books around the world, according to BitcoinTreasuries.net. So Strategy, I don't know, they used to be, I guess, MicroStrategy. Now they're just going by Strategy. Which was formerly known as MicroStrategy, has acquired an additional 4,980 Bitcoin for approximately 531 million, according to SEC filing. The Bitcoin purchase came at an average price of $106,801 per Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin treasury company's total Bitcoin holdings now stand at over 597,000, currently valued at over $64 billion. So Strategy's most recent Bitcoin purchases were financed through a mix of capital raised via the sale of common stock and newly issued preferred stock, which are part of the company's extensive at-the-market equity ATM equity programs. These efforts reflect the broader $84 billion capital raise initiative under the firm's 4242 plan, which is intended to fund continued Bitcoin accumulation through 2027. Recently, Strategy Executive Chairman Michael Saylor made the case during the BTC Prague conference that the Bitcoin price could rise to 21 million over the next 21 years, which explains the company's reasoning behind acquiring as much Bitcoin as they can as quickly as possible. As of now, the company's average Bitcoin purchase price sits at $70,982 per coin, resulting in over 21 billion in unrealized gains. So according to BitcoinTreasuries.net, Strategy is by far the world's largest publicly traded Bitcoin treasury company, with the closest competitor, Bitcoin miner Mara Holdings, having a Bitcoin stash of roughly a tenth the size of Strategy's. So obviously very interesting what Michael Saylor is doing over here at Strategy. Again, we'll have to see how this plays out. I find it very interesting just kind of watching this from afar. And it's been a very interesting conversation online with this because, people either love this or they hate it. They think he's a fraud. They think he's a genius. And Michael Saylor has a very interesting history. He had, if you go back to 2000, he had a company that kind of blew up and failed spectacularly, and now he's back here with this. So so again, I think there is, to his critics, I think that his critics have some good points. But again, this is a fascinating strategy that he's doing here. I will have to see how it plays out, and then finally, I just had one last article here to cover here. So this is from Cornerstone Advisors. This was an article that they wrote. So this is called "The Genius Act and Stablecoins: What Banks Need to Know." So the Genius Act at a glance. So the Genius Act aims to bring regulatory clarity to stablecoins by establishing licensing requirements, setting capital and liquidity standards, and placing supervision under the Federal Reserve and other regulators. Key provisions include only insured depository institutions and approved non-bank entities will be able to issue stablecoins. Issuers must back the stablecoins one-to-one with high-quality liquid assets like U.S. Treasuries. Required audits and disclosure of reserves, and prohibition of algorithmic or unbacked stablecoins. So those are kind of the key things there in the Genius Act that people need to know. What are some of the other things going on right now? Well, Amazon and Walmart stablecoins, are they a threat to bank deposits? So stablecoins could divert significant transaction volume and core deposits away from banks as retailers, fintechs, and big tech issue branded stablecoins that lead consumers to move cash into stablecoins for convenience, rewards, or programmability. In this scenario, stablecoins become functional equivalents of bank deposits, but without the FDIC insurance, relationship ties, or regulatory protections banks provide. So, and it goes on to say this risk isn't theoretical. Deposit displacement has been happening for years. A new study from Cornerstone Advisors found that $2.15 trillion has already left banks for fintech investment accounts, 65% of which has come from Gen Xers and baby boomers. This is on top of the estimated $10 billion that Americans have sitting in merchant mobile apps like Starbucks in any given week. Furthermore, JP Morgan's Genius Act response. So JPMD deposit tokens. So the JPMD is initially designed for institutional clients and will be issued on Coinbase's Base blockchain, targeting on-chain settlements and cross-border B2B transfers. So this is very interesting. So obviously JP Morgan has been working on or messing around with potential, stable coin or cryptocurrency coin. So again, not surprised by this move, but no doubt, JP Morgan wants to be, out in front of this. Cons of the Genius Act for banks. So increased. So JPMD positions JP Morgan for the future growth in digital settlements and institutional digital asset operations. Other banks are watching closely because JPMD may soon set the standard for what a bank-issued stablecoin really looks like. For the rest of the industry, there are pros and cons to the new regulation. The downsides, increased operational burden, technology and infrastructure gaps, and new non-bank entrants. So obviously, there's definitely a lot of things to consider there. I think operational burden, technology, and infrastructure gaps, two very big issues there. And then the pros of the Genius Act for banks: regulatory clarity, defense against shadow banking, and a new revenue channel. So yes, so I think I think there's going to be some cons to this. Obviously, I think the biggest thing there being deposit displacement. I think that's one of the big concerns for banks, particularly community banks around the country. But I think there is a lot of pros here. Obviously, new revenue channel, regulatory clarity. I think there could be a lot of positives there. So, and then the article goes on to say stablecoin operational and risk considerations. So you have infrastructure risk, cybersecurity risk, balance sheet and liquidity implications, and then regulatory supervision complexity. So obviously a lot of issues there to go over. And then how should banks react to the Genius Act? Well, you should think about define a strategic position, identify relevant use cases, invest in infrastructure, educate the board and the C-suite, partner, think about collaboration with fintechs, and then advocate for smart regulation. So I agree with all of that. I think that's a great way that banks should be thinking about how to react to the Genius Act. But the risks are significant. Infrastructure, again, risk, cybersecurity, balance sheet and liquidity implications, and then regulatory supervision complexity. I mean, these are not small things at all. So, but again, very good article from Cornerstone Advisors, the Genius Act and stablecoins, what banks need to know. So again, we shall see what becomes here of Crypto Week. And I hope this was a good update for everybody. I'll be back with another installment of the Crypto series real soon. But I will wrap up this episode by saying, if you like this episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, as that always helps the channel. Remember, we are on YouTube, Rumble, and all major podcast platforms. Please be sure to leave your comments down below, as I always love getting back to everybody. And as always, please check out some of the other content on the channel. If you haven't seen a lot of the other episodes of the Crypto series, please go check those out. I think there's a lot of great stuff in there, everything, all things crypto. And with that being said, I hope everyone has a good day out there. Thank you for listening, and I will see everyone again real soon. Thanks a lot.